Hello and welcome everybody to our next Empowered Wholeness Conscious Conversation and Coaching call. So today we're actually going to be talking about manifestation, given that this is the first session of 2024. And interesting, I was having a conversation with somebody this morning about it's not really naturally the time at which we're starting our new year, but from a normal human perspective, we are naturally coming out of the end of the old calendar into the new, and we start to have thoughts about what we would like to achieve and experience during the course of the following year. So, what better time to have a conversation around manifesting? So, welcome to you all, whether you're here today on the live call or whether you're going to be joining us in the recording afterwards. So, welcome, and I'm here with my beautiful friend and colleague, Jay Brown.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, it's the first call of 2024. And I do agree, really, the new year is when it's spring and it's going into the actual new year. But it's still quite nice when we're changing from 2023 to 2024 to do all those typical things of getting our goals in mind, come into alignment. It does bring about an energy of change. It
Mm.
still has that feeling of like, okay, right, new year. I think especially after that Christmas period that where we're not fully working, we're in a completely different state of being. It's always a opportunity to go, okay, well, I'm going to get back into what I need to get back into and come into alignment. So yeah, I'm here for it. And
Yes,
uh,
absolutely.
yeah, so far. So what I always do, I'll probably just start with this. Why not? I always do a so I never used to do vision boards. I know it's a very typical 3D thing to do. But last couple of years I actually have, and I quite enjoy that process of going on Pinterest. So if you haven't done this, you might want to do it because it's really fun. Um, look at all these pretty images because there's so many lovely images on Pinterest, and then you can download them all. And if you have Canva or anything, you can put them all on one little thing, and then I have it as my wallpaper on my phone now. And I think when I was tuning into what's the point of doing that? It is to again bring you into the beliefs of what you want, bring you into that feeling, start to create that feeling of excitement for what you want to bring into your life. And I actually used to do breath work with my manifestation board as well, which I might do again this year. That's
Mm.
what I was kind of taught in my training. It's actually really powerful to bring that into your mind's eye and then do breath work with that in your vision. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great to have that. And this year I have started one, but I haven't quite finished it yet, purely down to my technical abilities. So I need a bit of help from Jade. So I've got the pictures in Pinterest. Haven't quite worked out how to move them, but yes, I have
You
got
have
some.
fun finding the pictures though.
I have fun finding the pictures, and it does actually help you to bring it into a more physical experience, because often we have these thoughts and feelings, but when we start to bring something in, even if it's an image or we're writing, we start to bringing it into a physical manifestation. So it's starting to bring that birthing through and help us to connect to it in a more tangible way. So I think it's a really useful tool. And I've seen people have
Think
some really
about what we want as
interesting,
well.
yeah, and it gives you a chance to think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the really important things that I've noticed this year more than ever is that I've felt very different about coming into this year to what I have previously. And I've had an awareness of these shifts of energies. And what I mean by that is whereas normally I would come in and I would be thinking at January, right, okay, what do I want to achieve? And you've got those you're doing those strategy meetings and goal setting, whether it's your business or whether it's your personal life and well-being. And you've got all of those goals and they seem like, right, okay, new start. What I've really feel strongly into this year is that it's great to have all of those things and it's important to have them, but it's also having the awareness of what do we need to complete before we're able to fully create the space for those things to come in. And it's about having the conscious awareness of that, um, because I think there's also, I know personally there's a danger for me that I can start moving into the next phase before I've completed the previous phase. And so it's really helping me to identify um, what loose ends need to be tied up. So because we're coming to the end of a cycle, so it's great to have the overview of what we want to bring in, but it's also having the awareness of what do we need to finalize before we're able to really being able to embrace that fully and have the space and the time and the ability to do that. Because otherwise we're stepping into something new, um, physically before we've energetically dealt with what we're still dealing with. So it's
Mm.
also about having that space to acknowledge where we already are at and what we need to finish. And rather than having what can be a bit of a disassociation, because we, especially if things have not been working particularly well in certain areas, there's a temptation to get to the new year and go, right, I'm going to do this and this and this, and almost disconnect from those things that are less comfortable rather than working through them to be able to really get closure on those chapters that we need to work on to bring in those new parts. So it's just something that I've felt very connected to this year. So
Yeah, I think at any point in the year, that is something to really look at. It's because manifestation is about becoming an energetic match, an
mm,
energetic frequency to what you want. And there can be things in the way, there can be limits that are blocking us. And if we're not addressing them, again, it's, I suppose, a spiritual bypassing. You're
yeah,
avoiding the actual truth. And, when we go into manifestation, again, it's that toxic positivity when we can be like, I'm only going to track this and think positive. But that never actually really works. So it is also about being truthful and honest with where you are. And so that's really great that you're being like, oh, there is still things that I need to tie up to become into that energetic match to what I do want. Definitely.
I
Yeah.
think it's really important because otherwise we're not creating space, and we can have these great ideas about what we want to do, but we're not actually in alignment to it. So energetically, we're still in a different space. And then we wonder why it is that we can't bring things in because we're not actually in the space where we can. It's almost like one of the things that I had a real awareness around last year, that I suddenly had a bit of an aha moment, is that I'm somebody that has, if anybody knows me well enough, you probably all know this anyway, that I have an idea a minute. And the reality is you can't do everything. And when we are connected in this way to our higher selves, and we have these higher timelines and all of these ultimate endless possibilities that are there, we're bringing them in into quantum time. But linear time and quantum time don't quite align. And so we do have to bring in a level of discernment about, well, what do we actually want to bring in? Otherwise, we can be completely unrealistic about what we can and can't do, and then end up getting nowhere because we're trying to take off. So we're trying to sort of bite off more than we can chew
And you're
because
not
that's not
taking an
realistic.
action
You're
on
not
it.
taking any
Thing.
action. You're
You're
just
just going,
going
that sounds
tettering
good.
from
That's
idea to idea. Exactly. Yeah.
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 And it's true. It's like we do have all those different timelines. And that's one nice thing about manifestation. It's really dropping into that feeling and connection to your higher self is
Mm,
that's reality has already happened. It's already there. It's already possibility. So you don't feel like it's so far off. It's just like, okay, well, what's in the way of
mm.
that timeline to where I am now? What blocks, what limiting beliefs, what's there, what's trauma to get there. And it's a timeline, it's there, it's all available. I really think anything's possible, anything we want.
Totally. And I completely agree. I really sense, I know that sometimes when I've done, especially with dance, if I'm dancing, I can actually sense the vortex around me,
Mm.
and that connection to what's there in the field. It feels, something feels more tangible when I'm in that space. It's obviously a higher frequency space where there is this ability to really almost reach out and touch it and feel it energetically as a closer match, because the frequency match at that point is obviously a higher frequency match. So obviously there's lots of ways you can do this, and it'll be a different way for each person, will have their own way of being able to connect in with that space of that higher resonance. And there are things that I really feel limitless. I completely connect to that feeling of limitless possibility. And then when we come out of that frequency, we start to put in those limiting beliefs start to drop in. And so it's almost like a push pull that we have in terms of the knowing that it's there, the understanding that everything that we want to experience is already there. Anything we've thought of is there for us, but it's just giving us that energetic match. But the limiting beliefs and the blocks, and quite often unconsciously, we're pushing those things away. So it is really important to do all of that clearing, to do the work, to so that we can come into more alignment, and also having discernment and choice around our choices, and not choosing, not trying to do everything, but really tuning into what feels, what do we really want to do, and every choice that we're making, is it taking us in that direction or is it taking us away from that direction, so that we can become clear about we don't have to know the answers as to how and the why, It's really just about knowing what really feels in alignment, what really gives us that passion, and every choice point that comes up, it's how does it feel? Does it feel aligned? Does it feel like it's taken me where I want to go? Or is that a bit of a sideways step? And that was a big thing I think that came up last year. And I think a lot of people who are on this journey have got that sort of temptation to be people pleasers and want to sort of do everything to fix everything. And that energy tends to be around. And so we can get pulled off track by other people's needs and wants and whims quite often. And so it's really important to tune in, and rather than doing everything that comes along, because we want to so much help and support and do these different things, but it can actually be distracting and actually not helping us to get us where we need to go. So it's being present with those choices as to why we're making those choices.
And I think that's why the more that you come into um that higher frequency, being in your heart, having that connection to your higher self. I know that that's always guided me. So all those things, it was like everything was in alignment that I saw and I knew was good for me. And then you can distinguish between what is right in alignment and what is those patterns of people pleasing. And but
Mm-hmm.
something that's come up for me with it, it's self-sabotaging. So, and I think they call it like an upper limit problem, upper limit. So for me, like I've manifested so much in my life. Like even being here with you right now, I feel like I've manifested this. Like I wanted community, I wanted like a sister circle, I have all of that. I wanted this house. I've got everything that I really wanted, and that's because I didn't set my bar too high. But even this was it was a really high bar for me back then. The
Mm,
thought of being here in this kind of world was a real dream. But when you get here, you're then like, oh, but now I want more and I want more. But then those things that I want now, there is so many self-sabotaging patterns that I can't quite get there. And it is
mm,
the more scary things of like maybe becoming viral online, public speaking more, teaching in groups, some really bigger things that I'm now like, oh goodness, like there's some extra work I need to do now. Before it was kind of like coming to alignment in my body, removing trauma. Um, yeah. And does that make sense? Have you experienced it,
mm,
like upper limit
mm.
problem? Yeah.
I
Does
think
that
we
make
do
sense?
have, wherever we're at in terms of everything's relative to our previous experience and our perception of our reality to the limits of where we can actually imagine. And every step we take, we're always stepping forwards into a greater perception of that possible, like you say, the upper limit. And it's something that I'm actually been thinking about recently in terms of there's quite a big project that I would really like to manifest. And financially, the number of, in terms of the money that I would want to or need to be able to achieve what I need to do is completely outside of my comfort zone and my perception around what I could possibly have.
It is comfort zone, isn't it? It's like
Comfort
these
zone.
upper
Yeah.
limits are to keep you safe, aren't they?
Totally.
Feel like
It's exactly that. It's a comfort zone as to what we, so if you're born into a wealthy family, it will mean absolutely nothing, and you would go out and spend that in an afternoon on buying a new yacht or whatever.
if you were in a family that everyone was really loud and bubbly and
Yeah,
confident speaking, it wouldn't even
no,
phase you. Yeah.
exactly. It's whatever it is for you that's comfortable. It's always then stepping into that next version of ourselves and looking at if there's something that we want to manifest, and we can, because I'm aware that my limiting belief about what it is I want to manifest is around my perception around money. And I think for a lot of us that comes in because unless you are, going to say fortunate, because it comes with its trappings, as we know. It's not necessarily fortunate in lots of ways. But unless you're born into wealth, and you take it for granted and it's just part of your everyday life, it's something that we seem as outside of our achievable limits, because we can't think in a linear way how we can get from here, which is what I would normally charge for this, to having this much money coming in so that I can do that. It's like we can't understand how from a human perspective, where in our lives right now, there's not a clear roadmap of how we can do that. So we can only create a roadmap based on what we've already experienced or what's within our it may well be that we've seen somebody else achieve something in a certain way, so we know it's achievable, so that gives us that belief within our own field. But if there's something that seems outside of that, but we have this real need or wanting, this real desire to want to create something that feels outside of what is possible, then we're starting to really step into this understanding of that the universe is a completely abundant place. It's all about perception and limiting belief that stops us. Why is that person? Why has that person got billions and why have I got nothing in the bank? It's like, what's the difference? It's a perception thing. Because you could have that money, and if you've got, because if you also look at some people are great at creating wealth, but they lose it. So it's and so they do it again. There are people that have had many multi-million pound companies, and then as soon as they've got the money, they lose the money.
Yeah, and
So
I've seen people with that experience that it's like they think they could make as much money and they're like, I can be a millionaire, and they have that attitude, but at the same time, they're really scared of losing. It's like they have money, but they're still so scared of losing it.
yes,
I've
yeah.
seen that.
And
I've
is that,
seen,
am I worthy of having it? So there's a
yeah.
self-worth issue around having it and then not feeling worthy of keeping it. So there's all these limiting beliefs around what we're worthy of having.
Yeah, I really like the idea. I don't know why I heard this before, but it's like being in a relationship with money. Are you repelling it? How are you speaking to money? When
Mm,
you have a bill come in, are you like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this, this is too stressful? Or are you like, oh, I welcome it, I'm happy, I'm so grateful that I can afford to pay my bills.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's having a relationship with that thing, and what are you thinking, how are you speaking
Mm,
it into your reality. And I think mine money has been, it's just been like, oh, I don't really care about money. That's been mine. I've had to go, no, Jade, you need to kind of care about it, because if you don't really care about it, then yeah, I'm not drawing that into my life. So that's the thing that I'm working with money.
mm,
It's because I don't feel fearful around it or stressed about it, but to me it's my spiritual wealth. That is wealth to me. That's what actually brings me most joy. It's not necessarily money.
mm. And I'm exactly where you are. I've never had that feeling around money.
Yeah,
It's never been an important part. Don't like it if I haven't got any, but but
you're happy and comfortable with.
I'm very
Yeah,
comfortable with it. It's just trusting it's all going to be fine.
yeah.
And so I don't stress about it. If I'm having a period of time where things are difficult, I'll always be thinking it'll be fine. Something will turn up. It'll all work itself out. I'll surrender to the process. It'll be fine. It'll be
I
okay.
think our partners hate that. Don't I
Yeah,
think it's like
both of
men,
our
that's
partners.
like,
Yeah.
what are you
So yeah. But and I think that it is, and this is the thing that I think is really important, is to, you don't care about something, how can you can't respect it. And so if you don't respect something, then it's not going to come to you. So, and we've
not
all
putting the
got this
energy
different
towards
perspective.
it?
Yeah,
Mm.
it's the energy that we're putting towards it. So, um, and it's I think we've got so many negative perceptions around money, or we've been programmed with so many negative perceptions around money. And now I think especially in the spiritual community, because there's been a lot of
Well,
time where it's been quite difficult for people to charge for things because they felt that they shouldn't, and it should be a gift that they're offering. But at the end of the
and you
day,
can be spiritually enlightened without money and happy without money, and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I think that's actually a really false narrative that we've been feeding ourselves, because the reality is, if we really want to change the world, how most of us do want to have some sort of an impact in changing, money needs to be the what's the word? It's almost like the symbol of what can give us the freedom and the energy to be able to create those things. Because if we
Sure.
don't have that, it's the resource that we need in order to facilitate what we want to achieve. And so it's not about the money for money's sake, it's about what you can do with the money and the good you can create with the money, rather than having money for the sake of having money so you can go shopping and down the pub or go out for a nice meal or buy a new car. It's about, look at what I could do with this money. If we had this money, we could do this, and we can buy this and with this, and we can look at the amount of people we could touch, look at how much change we can create. So it starts to become a facilitator rather than something that becomes all about having it from a material perspective. So it
It's
starts
always
to
thinking
change our
why you
perspective.
want that thing.
Yeah, it's the why.
Yeah.
And I think money has always in the past been seen as a negative thing because it's all about material wealth and material financial gain, and there's the money struggles and power struggles around money, and that it causes a lot of problems with people. But if we can shift our perspective around that, it's actually a resource that we're needing and in order to make change and to create amazing things and shifts and new paradigm shifts, if we can look at it as a resource that's needed for that, or whatever that resource is, it starts to change our understanding of what money is for. And so
Mm.
it can take away that negative association with it.
Mm. And then so the work around it, it's a lot. I think with manifestation, it is such an internal work, isn't it? That it's always about feeling into that. So feeling into, if you had all that money, okay, how can you, does that feel comfortable in your body? And then if not, well, start making that comfortable. What are those beliefs around it? And it's just aligning yourself internally with what that is by creating that feeling.
Mm, mm,
By That's why imagination again is really powerful. Like all these things that I have now, I've actually imagined them. And the things that I was talking about, my upper limit, are things that I actually find it hard to imagine. The
yeah,
things I have
yeah.
now, easy. I felt it so much. Like I really felt that in every cell of my being.
I think that's exactly that. The point is, if we can't imagine it, we can't create it,
Mm.
because we haven't got it within our understanding of what it would be like and feel like to experience that. In fact, this, if you remember, was one of the things that came up with Steve Noble. He was talking about in terms of feeling into how much money you could comfortably hold in your energy field, and it feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And you'll feel that there's a number that beyond that number, you'll be like, oh, that's it's like I'm not. There's a worthiness limit that we have in terms of I'm not worthy of having more of that. So we just need to push that out so we can start to incorporate more. And it doesn't have to be money, but it's, whatever it is you want to experience, it's about bringing it into your energy field in a way that feels comfortable and aligned. Because if you, oh, I don't know, let's just say something really ridiculous. Let's say you want to manifest a private jet, but yet you see that as something that you're not worthy of. You're never going to manifest that because it's not going to be in your realms of reality, because you only see film stars doing that. So but it's then if you start to imagine yourself in that way, you can do so much more than you realize. I've known, there's a couple of people that I've known throughout my life who have come from very humble beginnings and done some incredible things, but they started very young with vision boards and with those ideas that because they started there, it's like, no, but I'm going to have all this money and I'm going to live in this house and I'm going to have this partner, and they believed it with so much passion and um, uh, absolute belief and no doubt that they created these things. And there was no reason why those people should, beyond the person that lived next door.
Mm.
But why did they do it and somebody in the same circumstance
And
didn't?
it's
It
like
was,
the amount of energy that those people put into
yeah,
that idea, to thinking it. I really want that feeling. Like there was so much energy going towards that. To other
exactly.
people would be like, oh, that'd be nice. Continue our day. And
Yeah. And it's
it,
that'll be nice, but that's not going to happen for me. That's not possible for
yeah, I
me.
was just trying to think about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like even so Tom, who get married too soon, he was someone that I actually dreamed about. Like when I first met him, he was someone who I put so much energy in and feeling into, like, wow, if only I was with him. And so really it's even that's mad. Like if I told myself when I was 18 I'd be with him, I'd be like, oh my God. And then it's here and these things in reality. I've got this house, I've got this beautiful community, beautiful friends, and then it's as well staying grateful for what you have as well. I think that's super important, because then you're going to still be in that frequency that's going to attract more and more, and not taking it for granted, which we can so easily do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think,
I would love to hear that right now.
play him that part. So, but I think we've talked a lot about the energetics of it in terms of the clearing, the creating space, the trust, the belief, really using the imagination. There's definite tools that work, but there's a lot about manifestation, and it
Mm.
talks about very similar things every time. It talks about the focused intention, focused action, believe it, act as if it's already happened. And all of those things are very valid, but without doing the work that's aligning to clear the limiting beliefs, you're still going to struggle. So it's all of those things are true. So yes, absolutely, gratitude is a huge thing in terms of creating more, because if you've already got it and you're grateful for the universe is going to just send you more of what you already love. So that's going to continue your manifestation. And the focused intention is really important because, and I know that this is very true in terms of being scattered energetically, when we have too many ideas, is if we keep changing our minds, we start to go down one road and then we change our minds and we're starting again in a different direction. So we need to be really clear about what we want to create. And it doesn't need to be that we have to have every single detail, but it's that feeling and that general idea as to what it should look like, so that we can have, so that we're taking steps towards that goal. And it's just
Like
having that,
surrendered control, isn't it?
yeah, and surrendering to control is the how. It's just
Yeah.
like, okay, this might seem right now completely out of my ability to know how to do this, but I'm trusting it's going to happen. And making sure you're asking those questions about, is this taking me in that direction, or is this taking me in a, is this taking me away from my end goal? So it's about a combination of the energy work and the clearing, but also your mind being clear and your mind being focused, and not being too scattered in terms of where we're putting our energy. Because if we scatter in too many directions, we end up sort of doing half jobs of everything, and it all getting sort of moving around and not quite getting where we need to go, and always feeling like we're not quite achieving. We're always sort of falling short of our own expectations. So I think it's important. And sometimes we have periods where it needs to be like that as we're learning and growing. But then when we get to a point where we go, right, okay, now I'm clear, it's really keeping that clear intention. Even if we can't see the how, we just need to trust that it will be shown, and stay in that place of trust in our hearts is so important.
Yeah, not worrying too much about and overthinking, because
Yeah.
overthinking is control, isn't it? About
Mm,
how
mm.
it's going to happen. And but again, it's not bypassing that, actually, by maybe writing all those things down, becoming really honest with like all the hows that you're putting in place, all the overthinking, all the doubts, all the fears, and being honest with them, and yeah, clearing them from your field.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because we can all, if we can imagine it, we can create it. It's as simple as that. If we can see it, feel it, experience it in our energy field, it's there. And it's just then, how do we align to it? And
And
that's
it's
where
like
the
a
work
lifestyle, isn't it?
is aligned. Yeah.
It's
It's
an
so mm,
everyday thing, how you're integrating into your life with everything, isn't it? It's not just like a moment thing. It's how you're showing up in every moment. So if that means you going to sleep at a certain time and waking up at a certain time to get things done, it's like all these things have to
mm,
come into place. And yeah, I think it's just realizing that sometimes we have to go beyond those comfort zones. So for me, getting up early and carving out more time, it's like a discipline and willpower that you need to become comfortable with it. It's like your level of tolerance needs to start to increase. And yeah, that's the place I'm at with manifestation.
yeah.
This year, it's all about increasing that tolerance, bringing it
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that we do go through different phases. Each of us will be at a different space. In the same way as everything we ever talk about is all very personal. It's about really, where are you feeling? Because we've talked about lots of different concepts, but as an individual, you'll align with some of this because it will really speak to you. And there'll be other parts where it doesn't quite resonate. But it's about where you're feeling at now, because where Jade is and where I am are two slightly different points in the same, we're on the same journey, but slightly different points on that journey. And I think for the thing that I'm really being very, very focused on now is having the bigger goal, really feeling into that, trusting, knowing, surrendering, and only doing day by day what's in front of me. So it's really being present in the moment, and what comes in front of you is what you're meant to be dealing with. Of course, you have to make choices, and like you're saying, getting up in the morning and doing those focused intentions of the day. But it's about being present with what crosses your path, because so that you're open to what comes in front of you, rather than looking for it all the time, because sometimes we can spend so much time looking, we miss what's actually in front of our nose and we block it from coming in because we have an expectation of how. But it's just being present and open to what's coming in that moment, and just holding that higher timeline, holding that picture, and also allowing that to shift and change, because it can, as you're stepping into it, other things might start to um, open it up into a broader concept or a broader understanding of what you're going towards. So you don't have to have every element in your mind as to what you want to achieve. The clearer you get, the better. The focused intention is really important, but you don't have to start there, because sometimes that starts to build as you're working through.
Yeah, it's definitely allowing that manifestation to come to you in a way that you weren't expecting. Because a lot of the time it does, and it's
Yeah.
more than you ever even knew you wanted anyway.
Mm.
And yeah, it's so true about being in the present moment with that every day. Because again, manifestation, it can take you out of being in the present because you're constantly fixated on that destination and there. So that's a really good point. It's all about staying accessing that
Yeah.
present moment with
That
that.
present moment is where the gratitude is. Otherwise, we're outside of that alignment. So we're in the present moment, being grateful, being present, being aware of the small things that we have. Even it doesn't matter what those things are, the things in every day that we need to be grateful for, that we have to be grateful for. And it doesn't matter where you are on your journey, there'll always be something. Even on our darkest days, there's always something that we can find to be grateful for. And
Mm.
that just helps us bring us back to that alignment, and then things start to become clearer the more we can be present with that gratitude.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we're not, because we can so easily be the opposite of that and be in that victim mode. Everything bad happens to me, I'm unlucky, and then it's that thing where all bad things happen at once. I
Mm.
definitely had that timeline for quite a long time of the victim mode, and I'm an unlucky person, and that did delay a lot. That's why I think I've said in the call before, it's like every year was like Groundhog Day.
Mm.
Nothing was changing, but my mindset wasn't changing. I was still in such a negative
Yeah.
victim mindset.
Yeah.
And as soon as that shifted, it's like every year I'm like, oh my God, how is this happening? It's amazing. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. Just being grateful.
Yes.
So I think we've probably chatted enough about it. So thank you.
Yeah.
It's been really lovely to chat about that. So, um, Jill, and would you like to sort of join in the conversation? Anything that you would like to add or to share about your experiences with manifestation, or anything that you would like to
Here.
ask?
Yes. You and I, Sandra, are just so similar. It's spooky. It's like the downside of being a creative is ideas come in and you've got to do this and you've got and there's that to do and there's I can't not do that. You know, my husband's often saying to me, no more tangents, just do what you
Concentrate on one thing.
exactly. Yeah, you could be him talking. You know, and you know the other side is the dancing.
Mm.
I'm off this weekend for a dance weekend, and I know that as soon as and I think Anne would appreciate this as well. I know as soon as I step on that expressive dance floor, I'm there. You know, nothing else exists except me, the person I'm dancing with, the music, and the energy that creates.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else that comes close to that in that energy space. The other thing is that I think we have kind of our visions of where we want to be, what we want to achieve, what we want to have, nice holidays, nice house, whatever, which is there at the top level. And then at the bottom level is what we have to do to get there. And they're not necessarily connected.
Mm.
And I think that's the difficult thing, because I know what I've got to do and I know what I'm aiming at, but whether I know how to do it and how to get there is another matter, because it's not connected to the nice house and the nice holiday.
Yeah, but I think that's where it's just having that intention of trust. Trust is a big part of it. I think is the keeping that there is the intention, and in a space of knowing that, and dreaming ourselves into that, just being in that absolute acceptance and knowing that it's coming. And then I've had some really interesting experiences over the last week or so where some years ago I had this, well, for a long time I've had this really big thing that I really wanted to do, as if I haven't got enough things I want to do, but this big thing. that I really wanted to do. But it always put it out there really as a, well, yeah, that's never going to happen sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, completely out of the blue, I met somebody basically sitting in a pub, and this person was sitting opposite me, somebody who's sort of on their own, started chatting to this lady, and it turns out that she does something which is really connected to this particular thing, that opened up these conversations. And then a few days later, I had another conversation with somebody who came, who it turns out has got the same thoughts, the same ideas, and has got another connection in a different way. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute, maybe this is something that is not just a pie in the sky thing. And so I think sometimes we have to remember that divine timing and our timing aren't necessarily the same, and that those things are there for us. And we're thinking that we've got to do things in a certain way to actually get from A to B. But quantum field energy doesn't work like that. And so everything is there and can happen in an instant when the timing is right. So we might feel that we've got to go through a linear process to get from A to B, but actually we might all of a sudden find that there's this event that happens that's completely a curveball that comes in that allows these things to come in a different way than we ever thought possible. And so for me, it's really about the allowance of the unexpected, the allowance of divinity to step in. And I truly believe that if we can envisage something, which is, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter whether it's the perfect relationship, the most amazing house, the changing the world with whatever work you're doing, whatever it is that you're experiencing in your dream time of imagination of what you want to bring in, it's because in your blueprint it's already there. We've come in with it in our blueprint.
I totally believe that. I totally believe that.
We're tapping into something.
Yeah, because when you have that feeling of something like a dream, say that with Tom, when I met him, it feels so much like and you want it so much that there is a reason why. It's because it's there.
Yeah.
The energy is so strong for that thing that you want.
And I think when it feels like that, you can feel it. When it's something that you know, it's almost like your birthright for it to be yours as long as you're aligned to it. So you've come in having made because we've all come in with our blueprint of what our highest timeline looks like, and the things that we are really dreaming towards. And I say dreaming, I don't mean dreaming as in daydreaming as a pipe dream. I'm talking about dreaming into our reality, because we everything, we are creating our experience, and so we're dreaming everything into our reality. And so if we are able to really feel that, when we have this feeling on a deep level, there are certain things that I know that I haven't achieved yet, but I know every part of my body knows that I will. And it feels that it's so on some level I'm tapping into something which I'm already experiencing. A part of me is already experiencing that, and so I can tap into it and feel it as if it's already there, even though on this reality I haven't tapped into it yet. It hasn't come in, but it feels so tangible. And it's when you have those things that I think that you can feel are tangible, those are the things that you know are for you. And so then it's about trusting that the universe will bring in what you need to do, or what you need to have, the resources that you need to bring those things in. It's like, for me, if I started to dream about having a private jet, it's like,
don't feel anything.
I'm not bothered about having a private jet, so it's not really, it's like I don't care. So it's not one of those things that's in my field. Whereas the things that I feel really connect to my heart, those are the things that are there for us, because we're already on some level already experiencing them. So I think those are the things where it's I think we can sense the difference between manifesting what's in alignment with us and just having things for the sake of having material things. And I think we can feel that there's a discernment there.
And it is about waiting for that to align. Like this house, I had to go through the whole journey of a year and a half, losing 2 houses last minute, for this to be ready. That's what I believe. I feel like the universe was like dragging me along, being like, okay, well, I know what you want, but it's not ready just yet. And then this house, yeah, became free, and I'm here. So it goes beyond our timeline of how we decide it should be. So it's that trust and that patience, that surrender.
Well, what's such an interesting thing about that particular situation with you is you thought you were just manifesting a house. What that did was put you in
Yeah.
a road which was a 5-minute walk from my house.
Yeah.
And so everything was
And
linked
friends
to
that I have now,
yeah.
nature, that I didn't realize how much my soul needed, all the things. I thought I wanted to live in a town. To me, I'd be like the most unhappiest person there now.
So it's sometimes we just, the timing has to be right for that thing to come in. And that feels really important for me to, so that you can let go of the how. You can let go of, you just know it's coming. It's being in trust. And so if it is the house that you want to manifest, it's knowing it will be there, but it may well be that the house that is the absolute perfect house for you, at the moment, the people that are living in it, the perfect house for them hasn't come available. So that's all got to happen and come together. And so it won't happen until all of these different, it's so,
But
it's
how incredible is it?
It's just
Yeah, but how incredible is it that like so many, I can give you some experience where the universe will then get in the way so that you don't not get the thing. Like, how does it happen? It's so magical. Yeah.
totally.
That's
But I
why
know,
it's always seeing those things as a blessing now when something doesn't go your way. I'm like, there's probably something more in this. So it's okay. You can just allow and be okay with it.
so I think it's the dreaming in it, but I think the biggest thing is the trust. Just it's the being in trust, and when you're in trust, it opens doorways. It opens doorways for people to come along your path, to bring in alternative routes to get you where you need to be. But yeah, it's a very exciting journey, very exciting journey. And how
It's
about you?
also sometimes difficult to sort of, you say people coming with cars, but for people like you and I, it's differentiating between being deviated tangents
Oh yeah.
and carrying on your path. So it can be a difficult choice sometimes, can't it?
I think
So
it
if
can
you're
be.
on a tangent though, it's like if you decide you want something and then you don't, you're like, oh no, maybe I want this now. Did you really want it?
No, that's not quite what I mean. It's more of a creative thing, I think, because things come in, the downloads come in.
But the things that we want, like I said, that feeling, surely that's got to be so strong that you're like, okay, I'm sticking to this one. This is really good for me.
But they're all related.
That's the big thing that I've really noticed in, which I think is sort of relevant to that point around how do you know? And I can look back over last year, and I know last year I was like, it's with Bluepool, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. When I go back to the core of what started, why Bluepool started in the first place, that was a calling, that was a knowing, that was something that felt a certain way. And then what I've realized is my human comes in, and it's like a kid in a sweet shop and gets distracted from the core direction. And so it takes us off track, but I also feel like it's part of the journey, because we as the human have to also learn and experience
In those other
what's not
experiences.
right, so that we learn what is. Because I know absolutely, I had a huge learning. I mean, as I discovered yesterday, I'm in my Saturn return. So that's why obviously this last couple of years has been an interesting part of my journey. But I feel like I've really learnt, the big thing that's been for me over this last couple of years is discernment, is learning, what do I really want? So the difference between what does my soul want and what does Sandra, who gets distracted, want? So, and it's hard to tell the difference, because when you're lit up by so many things and everything excites you and you want to do this and you want to do this, it's so this year I feel like a big thing I've got to rein in is those bright ideas that come in the moment where I just go, yeah, let's do that. And then afterwards, I'll be thinking, was that really a good idea to go, yeah, let's do that? Did I really want to do that? Or was that something that felt like a good idea? And then afterwards, it then starts to be a lot more work than you think it's going to be. And so it takes you a little bit off track from where you were. And so it's the thing that the learning from last year that I really want to take into this year is when an opportunity comes up, pause before before saying yes, because there's so many things that I did last year that in retrospect were not good ideas. They were exciting ideas, but I had no awareness of the amount of time, the amount of energy, and actually how little reward they would actually give in the long run. So it was really interesting that I can look back now and see that.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it's all part of that people pleasing as well. And it's like all great ideas, all things that seemed like what we wanted to do and needed to do at the time. But they definitely took us off track from the main direction. So I do think there is a coming back to the core, coming back to list, going within every time we have a thought or an idea. Is
But
really
it's that with the creativity, that energy is it's so expansive, isn't it? So in an expansive field, there is going to be so many possibilities and things, and that's okay. It's like it's then going, okay, so if I post it online, there's so many ideas. Like I have that, so many ideas. And then it's just like it's the same goal anyway. Just pick one. Don't be perfectionist. Just go for it.
Excuse me. I'm really sorry, but I have to go. We've got to take the boat round.
Oh, okay, lovely. No worries. Well, it's been lovely to see you.
Yeah,
And
you too.
we'll
And you, Anne.
maybe next week. So
Yeah.
take care. Bye, Jill. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So Anne,
What about you, Jan?
you? How about you? How have you what's your experience of manifesting?
Oh, the job I've got at the moment. It was a job I dreamed about when I was at the school, to have more freedom, to be more in charge of what I did and not have work dominate my life so much. And I used to dream of just doing 3 days a week, nothing huge, but because I've been a single person for so long, there was always this pressure to earn money in any which way I could. I've done some terrible jobs in my time. I was a debt collector once upon a time. Anything that fitted in with the kids that I could bring in money. So I've never had big ideas about earning mega bucks, but I knew what I wanted to give myself a comfortable living. So I don't have big ideas. I don't go beyond. I do sometimes, but not massively, because I'm quite a practical person. And I think also there's a self-limiting belief in there, and I do self-sabotage as well. So everything you were saying, my brain was sort of going round in what I do as a person. But this job, Savannah, she's going to the Holistic Healing College. It was while I was there, and it was a small group because it was the advanced hypnotherapy. And we had to give a bit of a spiel about our background. It was the one and only time we were asked to give information about the background we were coming from. So I did my thing about the mentoring, trained counsellor, and all that. And to me, we were all professionals there. Anyway, literally 2 hours later, one of the girls come up to me, it was tea break, and she said, I was really interested in what you were saying. And I thought, oh, okay, thank you, but I didn't know why. And she said, Annie, where I work, they would love you. And I said, I've never met this girl in my life before. And I said, where's that? And she said, I work with university students. Well, I felt this electric charge go through my body. And she said, would you be interested? And I went, yes. Well, I'd literally made up my mind to leave the job. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I told them I was leaving before. So I told them about May time. And I met this lady in the July. And I literally, this is a nice bit. I'd got, in my job for speaking up the truth, I got a warning. But before I got the warning, this meeting was pending. At that time, a lot of people were being walked off site out of their jobs. And I thought, I've lost my job. I've broken one of the big rules. So I got together a CV, and it was a really awful time because I just thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to lose that job. They're going to sack me. Anyway, long story short, I didn't lose my job, but that CV sat on my desktop for 7 years. And that was the CV I used to get the job I'm in now. I just tweaked it.
Yeah.
Because it was, I should never have been put in that position. It's a long story and I won't go into it, but I was sort of manipulated into that position so that someone else didn't get the rap. So I ended up in a really difficult, so it all added up to me wanting to get out of school for a long, long time. But in my head, the job I wanted was the freedom to get away from the politics. I had so many reasons for the job that I wanted, what I called my dream job. And I got it because I literally gave my notice in at work on a Sunday, and it was the anniversary of my brother dying the year before. And I thought, oh, well, let me just send the CV off now. Why wait any time? And I literally tweaked it for about 20 minutes, brought it up to date, sent it off on the Sunday. And on the Monday morning at 9:30, we really love your CV. Can we interview you? It went through like that.
That opportunity was waiting for you.
They're
Handed
waiting.
your CV.
Yeah, I was aligned. That was waiting for me, that job. I said to people, wish I'd known about this years ago, but really it came at exactly the right time. Yeah. And I so appreciate it because it fits in with my life. I'm not going to earn a fortune from it, but I'm comfortable. And I've got all what I wanted within a job. So and I do think when you were saying about the house, Jade, I've been in this house it'd be 34 years next year. Or is it 30? No, it's 34 years now. And we got gazumped twice on other houses. And as soon as I pulled up outside this house, and it was in an area I didn't particularly want to live in, I pulled up outside the house and I knew without going in, that was the house.
You do. You just, again, it's because it's happened. It's there. Same as this house. I walked in, I cried. I never had that feeling about all the 30, 40 other houses. And I was like, this is the one. This is it. So.
And the reason why we got this was because they'd been let down by their buy and it came back on the market and it had dropped in price. So it made it even more perfect. And I didn't know that I was going to have a third child. And if I'd got one of the other two houses, it would have made it difficult having 3 children. This house accommodated 3 children. So there you go. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. It just slots in at divine timing. But I do think limiting beliefs have got a massive impact.
Yeah, we put our own kind of caps on what we get, don't we? And it's okay. I always say it's okay to be okay with having a cap. If you're like, oh, I would like to be really rich, but you're like, no, what? I'm also being okay, being comfortable. But I think there's any right or wrong. It's not looking at people that are really famous and rich and being like, well, that is the best way. It's like, it's okay to also have a really comfortable life. So again, it's like listening to that feeling. If it's niggling you again and again and again and over, it's like, well, no, you want more than that. So you got to go for it. It's just that's that feeling.
But with Carolyn, what she was saying yesterday about we've gone in, I think we're in retrograde at the moment, are we? It's like it's going back and it's sweeping over the old stuff to see what's left. And I've been dreaming so vividly. I mean, I dream a lot anyway, but this is really vivid. And it's the same sort of theme And I've had that 3 nights on the trot, and it's the old stuff coming up. And I do feel that that is about the limiting beliefs, and that's what has to go back and see what is still there.
Yeah,
Mm.
I
That
definitely think
isn't
that's
serving.
happening at the moment. In fact, last night I actually dreamt I went into a time machine and I went backwards in time, and I was actually at a dance competition that I was at when I was about 16, 17, and I was wearing this dance dress that I wore when I did Miss Ballroom dancing and all this sort of stuff. And it was literally, I was in this really bizarre house that was like traveling through space and time, but it was upside down.
Your
And
dreams are always so cool.
I do have some quite random dreams. And yeah, I was traveling through space and time, and I was with two people, I don't know who they were, and I was saying, but the house is upside down, and I tried to write it, but when I tried to write it, everything went really weird. I was like, oh, okay, I won't do that then. So I was traveling upside down in this house. It was just really bizarre. But going back and observing situations, what came to me afterwards, that I was observing situations as they were rather than how I'd remembered them. And so it wasn't even sort of specifically real things that I can remember, but I think the message was what you actually remember something being and what actually happened are probably not the same.
Mm.
And so we have a perspective, and actually if we were to observe the situation at the time, we would see it now from a different perspective. But we
And
can
that's
only
the
see it
healing of
from
rewriting it.
exactly, yeah, the
Yeah.
rewriting of it. So yeah, we're definitely going through that, like closing down of old timelines, those old limiting beliefs that have been really stuck with us, where we've been self-sabotaging. It's like, time, we can't do this anymore. If we want to step into being able to really be of service and do this work, we've got to actually start to step up in a way where we're giving our human a bit of a shake up and just saying, like, enough is enough. It's hard. It is hard, but we all know where we need to do it. You know, we all know the things that keep on coming up, and we're like, oh, not that again. But we know what we need to do, and I really feel that when we get into what is the astrological new year, I think we're going to be in a really quite a fast-paced, fast-moving energy. And if we don't prepare ourselves now by really honoring this next few months, we're not going to have the energy to be able to cope with what's coming. So I think it's really important to honor what we're feeling, because we've asked for these things to happen. We've been asking for years for, you know, whatever the next phase of things are going to look like. Yeah, who knows? And we can, you know, we can look at this from a human perspective, and we can talk about manifestation, but it's also looking at it from a bigger perspective in terms of what do we want the world to look like. And if we know that we're here to actually create that change, then we've got to be really responsible and be those we've got to show up ourselves in the right way to be the example. And it's funny that came up yesterday as well about the spiritual gurus who sort of also starting to sort of dissipate, because gone are the days where we can look outside of ourselves, always looking for somebody else to give us the answers and to fix us. It's all within, and we need to really come into alignment within ourselves, so that we're then able to have the ability to align with our highest timelines. And if we were all to do that, if we were all to be doing that work and aligning to our highest timelines, everything would shift anyway. So if as light workers, healers, therapists, people that are on their journeys of self-discovery, if we all did that, everything would shift and change, because we have such an enormous impact on the energy of the collective that everything would change, and all of our manifestations would suddenly come in very quickly. So it's really starting to take responsibility and know that we need, this is time now for whatever we haven't done. We've all been doing the work over years and years and years, but it's not that we're running out of time, but it's like we're coming to a critical time of us really needing to be able to be ready for what's coming, and just tying up those loose ends so that we've got more energy, more capacity, more and more space in our lives, and to be ready for whatever's coming. And I think we've all been setting those intentions for everything to look different and to shift and to change, and it will come. We just don't know how. Again, it's just being in that trust as to what does that look like. So
That's a good
Reminds me
way
of,
to round.
good way to round up, really. So,
yeah, it reminds me of doing gardening, you know, when you've got to go out and prepare
Yeah.
the garden for the
Mm.
new growth in the spring. You've got to dig down and you've got to just turn it over,
Clear the
make sure
weeds.
it's ready.
Yeah, make sure the soil is ready. And I think this is what we're doing, is we're
Weeds are
creating.
present. They are with me at the moment. A few weeks there, that I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, I think we're all there. I think at the moment it is showing us. It's coming up and
It's
showing
so
us.
funny how you feel like you're invincible. That's what I realized. It's just like sometimes I feel like I'm actually invincible from
Mm.
feeling bad, from any kind of like in my body, in my mind. And then you have these really humbling experiences. You're like, wow,
Mm.
okay.
Yeah.
These things are still
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
Overcome. It's training. It's a training ground. It
It's a
really is.
training ground, but we're dredging out the bottom of the swamp now. I mean, we've done the work for a lot of years, and you know, in any other lifetime, this wouldn't be a thing. But we've got work to do. We've chosen to be here, so it's just showing up what we need to know right now, and we're all doing the work. We're all stepping one foot in front of the other, being present, and just holding on to that vision, not just for ourselves personally, but it's about the manifestation for the collective, for humanity, for the shifts and the changes that we want to see, so that we can live in a different world, a world that our children, our grandchildren, our no one can say the word progeny, but progeny. Oh, the kids coming. That we're actually creating something that we can, the legacy that we're creating. We're creating the legacy for humanity, and we're all doing that in this lifetime. And
Yeah, it's not just about the individual. It's not just about
Mm.
us, our manifestations. It is all for the bigger
it's
picture.
all for the greater good. All for the greater good. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being with us, Anne, and to Jill, and thank you for those of you who are going to be seeing us on the recording. Hope you found the information useful and helpful. And as always, if it resonates, take what does, and if it doesn't, just let it go. And
Yes.
we will look forward to seeing you again really soon.
See you next time.
See you next time. Take care. Bye for now. Bye. Bye.